Well, good evening, second hour. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. I am your host for this next hour of conversation, Kareem Bowen. I have with me in the studio my producer, the Rob Father. What's going on, Rob?
What's it going, man?
Man, I am good. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and all is well.
Yes,
I hope
it is.
those of you who are listening out there, Rob. So, what's going on? What's going on in your world? We need to check in. What's good with you?
What do you want to know? I'm open book.
But what are you up to these days? What are your plans? What's going on? Anything great happening in your world?
No, I'm just dealing with life as usual, and I can't say anything unless you ask something specific. I'm just working like I'm doing, and hey, I'm chilling.
But what we do know is that he will be continually each Sunday spinning those sounds for Classic Soul, right?
Yes, fate will have it. Yes.
All right. Appreciate it. So
that's Classic Soul Sunday with Rob Father, 1 to 5 every Sunday.
Go ahead, take your shameless plug, my man.
Right, baby, I have to do that.
Hey, man, and for those of you that are out there that are listening via social media, we certainly want to thank you guys for your continued support. I'm going to ask. Good evening for those of you who are coming in. I see you guys are starting to come into the stream. Please like, tag, and share. Today's conversation, I think, is going to be one that is very important for anyone who deals with young people or for anyone who is tech savvy or desires to know more. We have the president of the Black Women in Blockchain Technology is going to be our special guest on today. So for all of you that work in computers, the tech world, STEM, all of those great areas, I want you to tune in. It's going to be an amazing conversation with them in today, and I'm excited about it actually. But before we do that, you know how we get this. We know how we get down. Great to see you today, Sharon Brown Hill. You and Geraldine Walker are the first in our social media stream. Let's like, tag, and share this conversation. Sabrina Spinner, great to see you all. And those of you who are listening, not only in the Michigan Bay region, but we here, I'm finding out that folks in Flint are tuning in. So shout out to Flint Town. And one listener in particular, I ran into him and he introduced himself to me, Kareem Evans. Kareem, a good day to you as well. Shout out to you. He says, hey, I'm one of your most faithful listeners. I continually listen. He listens on TV. So we want to thank you all. Excited to be on. Great to see you, Vivian Rankins. All of you that are coming in, let's get into this conversation. I need some women who are about their business, who are interested in the next level of what science and technology and STEM have to offer. I want you to be in this conversation, women. This conversation is specifically designed for you as we talk about women in blockchain technology. Our speaker is fresh off a keynote speech with Black Enterprise down in Florida. So she's doing it huge. She's doing it big. And I want you guys to be a part of what's happening. So get some other women that are out there in business or doing something great, men, young women, young boys, whatever. Let's get into this conversation because technology is a space where women, we need to see more women presence. And so we're going to lean in on this conversation for today. James Knox, happy Sunday to you as well, my guy. Let me give you a little screen time. That is the crooner, James Knox. I am so blessed to have his listenership. Rob, I know you don't know it, but this man is the man with the golden voice.
Hey, I'm not competing with anybody. I'm just doing my thing.
Thank you so much, James. We appreciate you. But let's get to what's on my mind for today. And I want to start in, and I know I don't want this to go away. That's why I want to continually keep somebody talking about it, because we certainly know that the pundits and the airwaves, they're talking about everything. But we saw that the coach for the Celtics got more airtime than what's happening with Brett Favre. Brett Favre, former NFL great, Super Bowl champion, quite arguably one of the better players in the NFL. Mega rich, about $100 million worth of rich. He has been cited, and it really is. It looks like he's going to be charged because he's caught up in a welfare fraud scheme. Now, when y'all talk about welfare fraud, we usually talk about, and somebody said, Kareem, I don't know what you're talking about, but come on, y'all ain't that far removed from the hood. Selling check, food stamps. Now we got bridge cards. You had them, you know what's going down. And somebody like, don't be putting our thing out there. But this, when we talk about it, we always talk about the petty crimes, and it's our people, Rob, that are usually the ones that are subject to conversation. But here we have multi-million-dollar Favre. We got individuals, the governor of the state, all being a part of this horrific scheme to defraud poor folks out of their money for the purpose of building a volleyball stadium. Rob, I don't know if you've heard anything else about this. I know just recently updated. One of the people who has been charged is saying, look, I got text messages. I got proof that the governor told Favre, yes, this money is illegal and shouldn't be done. And so now I am going to share that information, allegedly.
So he's got receipts.
They got receipts. That's exactly what's going on.
This sounds like a story from Robin Hood.
A reverse Robin Hood, right? Steal from the poor and give to the rich. We got enough of that going on anyways. But as we were talking about that, it's really sad because this is how so much of what happens in our world happens. And people don't understand why folks who are on the bottom of the totem pole, how they have these feelings of distrust or mistrust for folks who are supposedly have their benefit and their best care at hand.
And why they don't vote.
And why they don't vote, because we see so many instances like this where folks are skimming off the top. Let me take what I'm going to get first, and then we'll figure out what you are going to get. And once again, it's another example, perfect example of white privilege and how they take what they want and do what they want, even when they don't deserve what it is that they want to do.
Even when they don't need it.
They don't need it. So it's like my child.
$1 million in my pocket.
Man, Rob. I am more concerned about my daughter and her other privileged little white girls having state-of-the-art facilities for them to play sports in, recreational sports, than I am about your children eating and having the things that they need to survive.
Just the neighborhood.
So if you've ever heard of a situation, if you want something done, you better do it yourself. You can't wait for other people to take care of you. That's one of the reasons why I hate the welfare system.
Bring back Black Wall Street, baby.
Because we put money in folks' hands who have no interest in taking care of, or we are not their primary interest as those dollars are supposed to be. So I'm going to use that as a segue right over to my other conversation, which is about these ARPA funds. We know that on last week or the week before last, I told you all about the ARPA spending $11 million in about 30 minutes. I've been having all kinds of conversations about it. And I think that one of the things that would be very helpful, and y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Rob, I don't know if you got the email from the powers that be that we can't accept phone calls or not. I don't know if they sent you that message. They were supposed to.
No.
But that's where we're moving to, because we have such a business savvy in terms of dealing with our folks. And our folks are people who have some level of understanding of the importance of the FCC. They now allow us to do that.
My program director tells me what to do, and I follow her instructions.
Absolutely. So we're excited. We're excited about what Rob is saying. He ain't letting y'all call in for nothing. You see, y'all see how this brother do? He ain't gonna take my word. Rob's like, look, I ain't put my livelihood. Didn't you just say that Brett Favre them stealing money? You might have me out here doing some gully stuff that's not a part of my program. But I want to talk a little bit. It's really not a big conversation about ARPA, but it goes back to that concept. The federal government sends $52 million into our community. We're looking, hey, we got $52 million. No, you don't. You got $26 million because the powers that be right off the top take 26. And I'm not saying that they're doing anything nefarious with that money, but I'm just saying it resembles. And so our antennas go up, and we
need the perception.
Absolutely, we feel some kind of way, and that is literally the federal government. I want to make sure that you understand this. The federal government stands behind, based upon their laws and what they sent money to cities for. They stand behind that $26 million swipe that took place off the top. So the federal government, if we were to do an investigation, if there was to be an auditor on this, that $26 million off the top is exactly what they could stand on that without any issue. So there is nothing wrong that has been done as it relates to that money. I want to make sure that we make that vitally clear. However, the resources and things that are happening moving forward, I want you guys to be aware. The next meeting is going to be in November, I believe, special meeting that they're going to be talking about. But now this is what I suggested. I suggested that we bring all that money back. And if you have a program that has track record, and I think we should do it in tiers, from if you are a brand new program, we're not giving you more than $50,000. I don't care how good your idea is, because this is about people who are working in the pandemic, making things happen for people. Now, what I need y'all to understand is that my church is not the biggest church in the community, but we were giving out about 100 meals a day during the pandemic. And because we recognize that if kids aren't in school, a lot of kids aren't eating. And those meals were going out. We partnered with Mission Nutrition over at the YMCA. So if you were one of those places that packed up, locked the doors, I don't think that funds are necessarily, this is pandemic money. So, or if you're going to meet a need that has not been met, that's one other thing. So that's tier one. Tier two, you've been in operation, 0 to 3 years, fairly new. You've been operating, making an impact, making some things happen. Maybe there is a level, we're going to give you between, $50,000 and $150,000 for the programming that you're doing, if it directly impacts individuals who are a part of an underserved community. Then tier three are people who have 5 to 10, you've been doing it, you've shown a track record, you've made an impact. People know what you've been doing, and then we can so that way we're not throwing money to organizations that are thoughts that people are just coming up with stuff because there's funds in the community. Because you know what, Rob, what's interesting is that there's a whole bunch of people who have a lot of ideas, but no work gets done. But you put money into a place, everybody has a new program, a new idea. And oftentimes it is those smaller mom and pop operations that have been working, that have been doing the work, that are working with mentor programs, that are working with kids and bringing in and feeding kids and dealing with single parent moms and all of those things that are out there that always get overlooked because of, the powers that be or other people come into the mix. And so I think if we do some kind of tier like that, let's make it happen. Let's get those money spent. Let's move on to something different, because I'm going to tell y'all something right now. $52 million, although it is a lot of money, it is not that much money. And if we're afraid of money, if you can't handle $52 million, if you're afraid of it, you'll never know how to spend it. So when I look at these guys, we got guys that are getting NBA and NFL contracts, hundreds of $1 million. I know that when they were coming $80 million here, $84 million, and you see, $400,000, $500,000 every 2 weeks coming into account, that's real money. $52 million for us to be stagnated really shows how we don't understand how money operates. Come on, Saginaw, let's make some stuff happen. Let's get this done, and let's continue on to the next thing. Now, I want to give you guys an update. Not necessarily an update, but I want to draw light once again to something that has happened in our community. And I just went, and I'm going to be straightforward with you, Bob Johnson. Thank you for writing such a good write-up on it on MLive, or you're not writing anymore, but the power, you're over the people. Did y'all know that Bob Johnson is no longer like just the lonely reporter for MLive, but he's actually overseeing the process. So there are people who are writing
for like 2 years now, right?
Absolutely. And so I just want to make sure that they understand that. And he is a brother in the community doing great things. So shout out to you, Bob Johnson, as well. And we're going to get into our conversation. For those who are just tuning in, we're going to talk about women in blockchain technology. Some of y'all are saying, let's tune this out. This ain't about us. Man, this is the future of where we're going. And based upon some things that the government has now passed, Rob, and some of the things that they have now initiated as it relates to things such as cryptocurrency. Y'all know what cryptocurrency is. Y'all heard of Ethereum and Bitcoin. Well, the government is now getting ready to get involved. And our guest is going to talk a little bit about what a big win that is for those who are in this Web3 lane. And we'll talk about Web3 and all that other stuff. But it impacts you. It impacts your children. It impacts your 401k. It impacts everything in your life when we start talking about the future of where technology is going and how these new forms of currency will be implemented into systems that will impact your life, Rob.
A more cashless society. It's been predicted for a while.
We've been talking about it. When I was a kid, we grew up with a show called The Jetsons. You ever watch The Jetsons, Rob?
Yes.
Me, George Jetson.
Yes, but I'm more of a Star Trek guy, so we didn't have any cash.
His boy Elroy, Jane, his wife. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
To find Judy, his daughter, or whatever.
Oh yeah, Judy, daughter, Judy, yeah, Jane, his wife. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But that was what we were talking, and they were flying around. We now see we got hovercrafts and things that are happening. This stuff is becoming reality. And you got to understand that in the tech world, that when you see something on TV, it's usually about 10 years behind where technology actually is.
Jetsons, there's no black people in the Jetsons.
Well, there's a whole bunch of black people in this Jetsons, and we're going to talk about it. But I wanted to just bring to light once again, and I'm going to read this really quick. If you remember, there were 4 police officers charged in connection with an alleged, it wasn't alleged, it was beating. We saw that beat down with the beating of a Saginaw man during the traffic stop. And it's funny that newspapers would use the term alleged when everybody saw it take place. It was a beatdown, all right? 4 police officers facing criminal charges stemming from this event, the assault of a handcuffed Saginaw man during a traffic stop earlier this year. This was August the 31st. Michigan State Police troopers Brian Schroeder and Zachary Tobedo, Saginaw Police Department officers Jordan Englehart, Dominic Vasquez, appeared before Saginaw County District Judge Fitchner, I think is how you pronounce her name. She's a new woman. I think she went to Arthur Hill and then graduated and did some other things. She's back. They appeared before for her arraignment. Schroeder is charged with misconduct in office and aggravated assault. The former is a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine, with the latter 1 year misdemeanor. Now, Tobedo, Engelhardt, and Vasquez each face 1 count of neglect of duty, also 1 year misdemeanor. The 4, their charges stem from an incident, as we said, that occurred March 28th when Saginaw, Michigan resident Vance D. Martin, 48 years old, was pulled over with the suspicion of being drunk, y'all. We saw the video footage. I saw the Rob, have you seen the video footage? You have not seen the video footage. I see. This is, it's crazy.
Read about it.
It's crazy. Mozilla Bogan, L the dog. There you go. We got you. That's one of our Flint folks that are listening here. Thank you for tuning in. But this video footage, it was recorded by the civilians. I think somebody was screaming out, "That's my cousin," or "Stop! You're gonna hurt him. You're gonna kill him." So MSU troopers and Saginaw police officers trying to get Martin, his wrist cuffed behind his back and into the patrol car. Well, eventually they have him handcuffed, and while he's cuffed, he is tased and punched. I mean, they going Mike Tyson on this dude while he's on the ground. 2 or 3, we've been here before. This is no secret, but we have been here before. For those individuals who are still talking about we've got to, give police officers more money. Somebody said, I want police officers in my community. I want officers of the law in my community, but I don't necessarily need them to police our community the way that they have been before. It brings me to mind. But anyways, this charge is coming. The state of Michigan said that they find that these state officers are guilty, that these individuals are guilty. And then our own city has refused to really see any charges. The last I was told, in terms of what was going on, that they had not done anything wrong, and it's under investigation. Of course, the police fraternal organization and their union is going to stand up and say that they were okay. If you look at the individuals who are a part of our police union, the heads of it, none of them look like us. None of them come from places that we come from. And of course, they look out for their own. And so we got to make sure that this does not, because if the state is saying wrongdoing is done, how in the world can we here in the city of Saginaw not stand up, get upset, get angry about what takes place, and then begin to make some noise? So we got to make sure that our voices are being heard, because it is so vitally important. That is still to come. Those charges are out there. But it made me think about something. I was watching, for those of you who are out there, some of y'all who have been indulging in the pleasures of a Mary Joanna or Mary Jane or Reefer or whatever those names are for some time. Look at this old head talk. He talking about the chronic. Come on, man. Don't make me sit here and talk about the chronic. But for some of it, there's a number of people, especially in our communities, that have received charges. You know what it is. They get nickel bag, dime bag. Y'all probably like, what in the world? Come on, I ain't been saved my whole life.
How you know that?
Well, because I'm a wise young man, and I went to Michigan State, and I grew up in the community. I grew up on Cornelia Street in the hood, so don't play me now. But anyways, what I want to say is that when we look at those things, there's been a lot of charges and a lot of individuals that have had charges pending against them for for weed. That has now been legalized in I think about 20 states across the union. It's on the ballot for I think an additional 5 states or so for the legalization. Now, whether you believe in legalization or not, it is what it is. If hospitals can use it and they're treating it, and they're saying that it, if it's not abused, that it's something that helps people with all kinds of anxiety and other things, it is what it is. People are gonna make it's just like abortion. We don't have the right to stop people from doing what they want to do unless it becomes an issue that people are offending or hurting other individuals. But if it's something that impacts you, you're not driving, doing it, you in your home, you want to get blown out, that's your thing. I'm not passing judgment or pushing anything. It's just not the thing that I would push. You understand what I'm saying? But it is what it is. So people have the right to do certain things, and that's why the power of the vote is so important. So Biden, in like fashion, he has now, in terms of federal cases against individuals, and this is thousands of people, he has now pardoned all individuals with federal crimes that included marijuana as the crime. If it's a marijuana crime, they're going to be pardoned. He pardoned them. And so those cases are no longer going to be there. That's going to impact our community greatly because it's something that has been going on for a long time. The government always wants to get in whenever they feel like they're not getting their cut of something. So since they can't make you pay taxes on what you're selling in the neighborhood or to cousin Ray and the rest of them, they legalize it and then they take the power from those who've been on the corner and give it to folks who live in other areas of our community. So it's important for us to make sure that we stay on top of this. But they've been pardoned, so that means that those crimes. And he encouraged the states to do the same thing.
And they should.
And they should, because right is right. When we look at the 84 and 94 crime bills, one of the things was tough on drugs, say no to drugs, that whole thing. And so they put stipulations on certain types of crime and gave harsher sentences. So you would get a harsher sentence if you were dealing with crack cocaine versus dealing with powder cocaine. And we understand that there were certain people in certain communities and different neighborhoods that were using it. And so they made sure that one had a greater offense than the other. So weed was another place in which there was a great infraction. And so I think it's important. Brandon, I want to thank you for your comment. I'm going to read it in just a second. It's on the screen. But weed was one of those other infractions that was being, people were spending serious time in prison for weed. It's no longer a federal crime. The president has pardoned those who have federal charges. He's encouraging the states to do the same thing. So let's see what happens. Brandon Harris out there, SPSD police chief, reports to the city manager, who reports to the Saginaw City Council. Has the city manager or any of the city members received an update from the police chief? That's a good question to ask, Mr. Harris. That is definitely a very good question that we need to ask, because there are rank and file. So there is a way that we have to engage. And I think that is very important. My thought is, Mr. Harris, and I hope you were giving us some insight, not trying to just correct a brother on his own show. No, I'm just joking. But my thought is that I don't want to see, that's your job, absolutely. Tell him the job is already taken. No, I'm just joking. Thank you, Brandon. Brandon is on top of young man. He is a very intellectual, powerful young man with great insight. Thank you, Brandon. My thought is that I don't want to see this go away. And I was just reading and I got an update on what was taking place just yesterday from the state of Michigan. And so this is fresh, hot off the press, just a day or so. So we'll make sure that we'll ask those pertinent questions. Brandon, I know that you're doing your part. Thank you so much for all that you do in the community. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to come back with the woman in charge, Black Women in Blockchain Technology. She's here. I see her in the green room. Take a quick break. We'll be back with more Straight Talk.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Sorry I'm late. Just got off my shift.
No trouble. I ordered you some coffee too. Figured you'd need it.
Thanks. I love nursing, but these last few years have been tough.
Well, you're doing God's work.
Tell that to Annette Glenn. You know she voted against protecting nurses from getting attacked on the job?
What? Come to think of it, I heard Annette Glenn also voted against a fund that helped military families, a fund both Democrats and Republicans supported.
Oh, Annette Glenn is not looking out for our community.
You know who is? Kristen McDonald Rivet. She grew up in a working family. Her father had to shower at the end of the workday.
I know all about that.
And McDonald Rivet knows that folks here just need a chance. She has a plan for small businesses and job training and to invest in creating high-paying jobs here.
I heard she's got a plan to make childcare more affordable. That'd be a game changer.
Kristen McDonald Rivet. She's got the right ideas.
McDonald Rivet. I'm going to remember that name.
Paid for by Michigan Democratic State Central Committee.
Share the savings at the JCPenney Friends and Family Sale. Through Sunday, use your coupon to rack up an extra 30% off all essentials for your closet and home, like dress-up apparel and shoes for the family, up to 40% off. Plus, Home Expressions bath towels, solids, and stripes, only $4.19 with coupon. Come on and save all. Shopping is back. JCPenney offers good on select style for $10.99.
I'll let her know.
See store or jcpenney.com for details.
What's that? Okay. You can hear us? She can hear us.
Welcome to Limu's Karaoke Lounge, where Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need, and the music never stops. Hit it.
There's an emu with a full-time job. His partner's Doug, but Limu's the heartthrob. Grubs and worms, that's what Limu eats. Gotta fuel up to save you money and hit the streets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty. You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're back with more of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. I am in the studio today with one of my new fast-bound friends. She is a powerful woman in her own right, and I hope that I get her name right. I have been practicing at home, saying it over and over and over again, and I'm talking about Miss Olayinka Odenare.
Odenaren.
Did I get it correct?
You got it. You're okay.
Okay, and we call her Yinka, so that's why I'm referring to her as Yinka. Ladies and gentlemen that are out there, Yinka, welcome to Straight Talk. I'm so glad to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Kareem. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so Miss Yinka, I met you through a common friend, and we were doing some things as related to technology, and there was a need for someone who understood this new whole world of Web3 and design, and we were talking about putting together some things, and you came to the scene and you were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And so we were working with our kids from Dow Treasure Academy, which we start up in just a couple of weeks. Dow Treasure students, if you're out there, if you're listening to us, I know that one of our students listens to us over at the fun park. What's the name of the fun park over here, Rob? We can go go-karts and things of that nature. He said more. Anyways, he's over there listening to us. And so we want to thank you guys that are listening, those who are out there for listening, these young kids listening to this program because they know that we're here. But we brought her in and we were like, listen, we want to do something really cool with our kids. And so we were thinking of NFT creation and design. So we brought Olayinka in. Oli, I want you to let me know exactly what is it? How did you get into this space? First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how did you end up as one of these Black women in blockchain technology?
Well, Kareem, I actually came from a financial background. I was a chief compliance officer before I jumped into blockchain. It was a friend of mine that actually introduced me to the whole concept of cryptocurrency. They told me back in 2015 to jump into Bitcoin. And I was kind of hesitant because, I'm in the financial field. They do check your personal tradings account, the department that I worked in. And so I didn't want to raise any red flag because I knew cryptocurrency was like a digital asset. And so I didn't want anybody to be like, what is this funny thing you're doing over here? So I stayed away from it, but he was persistent. And eventually I started researching. I was like, let me go ahead and start looking into this research, and actually fell in love with the technology behind all of these cryptocurrencies, which is blockchain. I saw blockchain for a true way of us showing up. It was decentralized. The version of the Bitcoin blockchain is decentralized. But blockchain had so many different components that we needed as a society. It allowed us to create a trustless interaction with each other and build trust off of a technology. It allows for transparency, and with that comes accountability. There was a security aspect that was embedded in there. And full disclosure, I am a cybersecurity professional as well. So all of that component allowed me to really start gravitating towards blockchain and seeing it for what it was. And it just so happened to be at that time, around 2015, 2016. If you recall, we were going through our own election cycle. It seems to be going on so often now, but we were going through that time frame, and I had an opportunity to also travel. So I was traveling between the U.S. and the U.K., and the U.K. had already gone through their Brexit, and a lot of people were starting to regret that. And so, on all of that was going on, it just made me say, you know what, we need something to allow us to be able to solve this issue of lack of trust between each other, and also create something that allows us to create transparency, which is what we really need. And so I started gravitating towards blockchain, reading more about it, educating people about it. And then eventually I created Black Women Blockchain Council because I didn't want to see Black women being left behind.
Okay, I want to stop you right there, Yinka, because I think that in our conversation, you were talking about how Black America was not just left out of the whole Silicon Valley piece. We saw the dot-coms and all of these other things come out of there where people were making real wealth. Yeah. And there were intentional roadblocks that were put in place that prevented people of color from being a part of that conversation and really being able to profit from that. You did not want to see the same thing happen again with this new wave of technology. Okay, before we get into deep, I want you to just kind of share with people on a very basic level what blockchain technology is. Terry Reed is one of our listeners out there. He says he's been really interested in Bitcoin, but didn't know enough about it. I also don't know many people involved. Need someone to teach us about this. Well, the woman that you have here, we've been having conversations about how we could bring her into the community and empower not only our students, but our seniors and other individuals that are interested. So this is the woman of the hour. Just give us a quick understanding of what you mean when we talk about blockchain technology.
Yeah, so blockchain is a decentralized ledger technology. And if you guys think about a ledger, like I like to give an analogy like the checkbook, right? If you recall, if you still have a checkbook or you're old enough to remember, a checkbook is how you basically keep track of, the checks that you're writing, as well as the back of the checkbook allows you to have a ledger where you can keep track of the money that's coming in and out based on the check that you've written. And also you can also keep track of money that's coming into your bank account. But because of that ledger, and we have it as a distributed, which means that nobody is controlling it. So now we're able to use that ledger to keep track of transactions. So for instance, if I wanted to send a Bitcoin to Kareem, I can use that ledger to actually keep track of that transaction coming out of my possession and going to Kareem's possession. And that allows me to create that transparency, because if Kareem said, I didn't receive it, we both have the ability to check that ledger and be able to say, you know what, this money was transferred to you at this particular time and date. And if it so happened that I actually entered the wrong address for him, then we know where that money ended up. So it creates that transparency. The other beauty about this ledger is that it is secure. With all of the security issues that are going on now, we know that we need something for us to be able to transport transactions as well as data from point A to point B. And because blockchain has a security component that's embedded into it called cryptography, which is something that the government has been using for decades upon decades.
What have they been using cryptography for? Give us an example of what they might use cryptography for.
Yeah, sure. Cryptography, like when you're sending an email, you're using cryptography that way. You're creating a digital signature that allows you to be able to send a document encrypted. That means, you're basically changing it into a series of codes that other people cannot intersect and read until it reaches its destination or the recipient. Then that recipient can go ahead and use their particular key to decrypt that encryption and be able to read it into an actual, and be able to transfer it into an actual readable email. So that cryptography allows us to encrypt and decrypt data so that a third party cannot interfere with that transmission of that data, and they won't be able to read it. The other good thing about the cryptography is that there's another aspect that allows us to now show up not as individuals, but as a series of numbers. And this is a very important component because it's now allowing us as people to show up in places and spaces that we oftentimes have found roadblocks. For instance, the financial institutions.
Let me. I just want to make sure we're clear on this. The light went off on something you said with my producer Rob, who happens to also be a senior Terry read that's out there. But Rob, you're following along.
Well, I was in the Navy for 20 years, and that's what I did in telecommunications. I handled crypto equipment and crypto cards and crypto keys and whatnot that we had to use on ship to ship or ship to shore or whatnot. And exactly what you said there is equipped in such a way where no one could intercept until you had the matching key. And we changed keys like every 12 hours or so of that nature. So I'm quite familiar with what she's talking about there.
Look at him. He's over here trying to show his young side, Rob. That's what I'm talking about.
I love it.
When you were saying that we can show up as, it hides basically the user.
Yes.
And so you're saying so that when I come through a door, if I go to a regular bank, I show up, they see me as a Black man. And I am then I have to deal with whatever biases that may come with me being a Black man in this space. You're now saying that cryptography allows us to show up in spaces that we typically before were not allowed into intentionally. And so just continue. I want you to continue on that.
Right? Incognito, right?
Incognito, yeah. Incognito. That's what it is.
Pseudo anonymity. Yes. So yeah, you're right. So it allows us to now show up as a series of numbers. So going back to that ledger, if I am sending you something, I'm not sending it to Kareem. I'm sending it to Kareem's wallet. And, we've established a wallet address for you, right? So now you're coming up as a series of numbers and letters, right? And that series of numbers and letters is basically tied to your public key. And it's a combination of a public and private key. And so that creates a bond that allows you to now receive assets in a more secure way and also retain your assets to you. And it also gives you an identity. So the public key is your identity. That's the key that you will share with anyone and be able to give them an access to locate your wallet. Now, there's another key, which is called a private key. And of course, that private key is kept secret.
It's almost like a fingerprint of sort, right? It's like a fingerprint of sort, right?
Yeah, exactly. The analogy I like to give is a house, right? For the house, for a delivery to be sent to your house, you need to give them your home address, right? But only you can enter the house, regardless of what Amazon wanted to do back, in a couple of years ago, where they wanted to gain access to your house. You don't want to give them access, but, the private key allows you to have your house key, and that house key gives you access to the entire house, right? But your public address allows you to only know that you, Kareem, this is your identity, this is your possession, this is your location, so to speak. And so I can now send money, I can send data, I can send anything to that particular public address that I have of you. That's how I'm able to identify you as an individual. So showing up as a series of numbers and letters now allows us to be able to participate in cryptocurrency and different aspects of cryptocurrency, also known as DeFi or decentralized finance, which is a way for us to now earn interest on our cryptocurrency, for us to stake our cryptocurrency, for us to have now insurance product. And all of this, as we know, in real world, right, there's always been institutional barriers. But in the blockchain space, that is removed because now we're traveling as a series of numbers, and there's no way to really identify who's behind that series of numbers.
So once you get into that space, equity is automatic in that space.
Yeah,
we have equal standing.
Yeah, you have all sorts of equity. You could have equity as in money, equity as in, self-sovereignty, which is you're owning your data, right? Because it's now you that's creating that data, and that data is being tied to you as an individual, as opposed to that third party taking your data and utilizing it for their own. But because we're traveling in the blockchain space, we have that ledger that's actually recording everything. So going back to that data aspect, NFTs, non-fungible tokens. You guys probably heard of all of these ridiculous quote unquote JPEGs that have sold for a lot of money, right? There's a reason behind that. It's actually not because of the picture, it's because of the utilization of the blockchain. The blockchain allows us to create provenance, which is basically stating a way for us to record who created that particular work or data, the time that it was created, as well as it has their wallet address that's attached to it. So now no one else can go ahead and try to mimic or say that they created it, because we can look on the blockchain, on that ledger, and be able to identify which wallet or which individual actually created that work.
Quick question for you. So I have an Apple card. It's the first credit card I received made of metal, didn't have any numbers on it whatsoever. So this is along that same lines there, where I know the number of my card, but if my card was ever stolen and whatnot, no one can get the number from it like you would a typical credit card. Is that where we're going with what you're talking about there?
That's similar to what we're talking about there. If you keep your information secure, no one can steal it. Unfortunately, in this space, there's a lack of education when people first get introduced into the whole blockchain space and they're purchasing cryptocurrency or purchasing NFTs. And so people don't really understand the difference between their public and private. So they end up giving the wrong information out. It's like giving, like I mentioned, that analogy between your home address and your house key. People often give away their house key, not knowing that they're giving away their house key. So therefore giving away access to their entire wallet indirectly to the wrong individual when you're supposed to keep that secure. And then there's other ways that people have fallen into the trap, but the best thing to do is really educate yourself. And unlike Apple, it's not tied to a bank. So if you lose your assets, that's it. We're really navigating through a space where it's really giving you back control. That's a big word right there. You're taking control of your finance, your data, and how you navigate through this space. There's no fallback. There's no FDIC. There's no third party. There's no customer service. So really, education is important in this space.
So this space was actually created for people to have some autonomy and to separate the government from their ability to manage and to move funds themselves, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Why is this space so important for Black America to be a part of?
Oh my God. One, we're in the early stages. I know, you probably heard a lot of people say that, but in essence, for technology to be household name, it takes a decade or so, right? We're almost in, I believe, in year 14 now. So it's a little bit past a decade. However, we're still in the newness of it because not the entire world is aware of this whole blockchain ecosystem. And the government is still trying to figure out how to navigate through this space themselves. So it's like the internet, right? When the internet first happened, we had, www, World Wide Web. I'm dating myself, so hey. We had the World Wide Web. And a lot of people didn't really understand the concept of World Wide Web. And honestly, they only allowed us to read stuff. We couldn't add to it. We just read, right? But right around Y2K, right? 2000, things were supposed to change, and things did change. We now went towards the internet, what we know now as the internet. But a lot of people that latched on from the very beginning are the people that made a lot of money, right? And so now this is our opportunity to not be left behind and take advantage of the fact that this is a new space. This is a space that's slowly every single day being carved out into what it will ultimately be. So we have the opportunity to jump in from the onset and be able to participate in ways that we historically have not, and also create solutions that matters to us, because somebody's going to try to create it. and they're going to create it the wrong way. But now here's our chance to actually create something that matters to us. I have family members that are overseas, right? So remittance, being able to send money, we know bank accounts, right? If you have a bank account, you know that they take out ridiculous amount of fees. If you're trying to wire something or ACH something, that takes time. But when you're dealing with cryptocurrency, it could be instant. I could do it in less than 10 minutes. You got it, right? As opposed to it's now Sunday. I got to wait till the bank opens. I got to do all these things. But if I wanted to send money to relatives, I could do it instantaneously. And guess what? I save a lot in fees, right? And they don't have to pay fees as well. So remittance is one of those things that our people really need, as well as so many different products and services. I mean, all types of industries are in this space, and they're slowly starting to build a lot more when it comes to the blockchain technology.
All right. I'm so excited to have you. There are so many questions that I have. And I see Terry Reed, who is one of our loyal listeners. He says that he needs more information. So we're going to figure out how we get you, Yinka, to Saginaw to run some workshops and do some things. Speaking of which, we're going to talk about, I want to shift just a little bit, but we're going to come back to what you have taken our students through the Dow Treasure Academy. I always believe that there are different ways that we can give exposure. There is, just information and an awareness that we can give, and then we can give an experiential moment, and then we can give an immersive opportunity. You took myself and our trainers and our students through an immersive experience of blockchain technologies when we were talking about NFTs. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I want our listeners to know exactly the quality of individuals that is before us. You have just fresh off of working and doing some things for Black Enterprise as Black women in blockchain. Share with us what it is, because this is an organization you started to get Black people informed and involved in this process. Share with us your experience with Black Enterprise.
Oh man, it was fantastic. I am really grateful to Alfred for reaching out to me and having me on his show, Beyond the Hype. And it's been a lifelong dream to be able to, present this to my people, my community, and give them opportunities to be able to tap in. So it was fantastic being able to just sit there and, communicate with them, similar to what I'm doing right now, and be able to introduce the community to the potential blockchain. I call myself an enthusiast, so you guys probably hear the excitement in my voice when it comes to this technology. I'm really geeking out whenever I talk about this because, I see it as a really good potential for our community. It's a revolution. We're really going through the changes right now. We're like at a crossroads right now. And I feel really motivated that our community has been involved from an earlier stage, and we need more people from our community to be involved. Right now, there's a Harris poll out there that says that out of everyone that's really adapting to cryptocurrency, the Black community is doing pretty well. And I always attest that to the fact that it's not like we don't care about finance. We do. We historically have always wanted to create our own financial freedom. But however, we know that historically there has been barriers in place to keep us from that. But now that we have an opportunity to tap into that, we're taking it by the horn, right? And we're participating. And the more and more that we educate the community, and that's a good thing about our community, we have a wealth of educators who were early adapters who said, you know what, I can't just be the only one who's involved with this. I need my whole community. So we're providing education. We're being out there. We're providing resources and pathways for our community to be involved because we know the capability and the potential of this. And we know that we're the one that's really going to make it thrive.
All right. I want to educate our listeners real quick on something because we are entering into phase, what we call Web 3.0. And you may hear these terms, and just so that you're aware, when we talk about Web 1, we're talking about basically when she was talking about the WWW, the World Wide Web, and we were basically consumers of information. We were able to search things, not add, those kinds of things. When we look at Web 2.0 or Web 2, we're looking at the way that we use the web currently. We are currently in a Web 2 phase of using technology we are moving into Web3, which is this whole idea of a new iteration of World Wide Web, which incorporates the concepts that she's talking about: decentralization, blockchain technologies, and token-based economics, which is what we were just on. As we look at this, Yinka, I want you to share briefly, because we got about 10 minutes left. You came in and you shared with our kids the idea, the concepts. Many of the kids were like, hey, we heard people were getting rich off of NFT creations, non-fungible tokens. Share with us what you were able to do with our kids. Let's talk about the creation of wallets, the seed words, and all of that stuff that we were able to do with those children.
Yeah, you know, the idea, like you mentioned, of Web3 is all of the stuff that I've talked about, but also ownership, right? And so it's important for our people and, you know, the younger generation for sure to be able to understand that concept. So inviting them to experience the whole new aspect of creating their own non-fungible token, being able to sell it, and reap the rewards of getting royalties from it. So, you know, for the kids, I basically walked them through the whole concept of blockchain and then introduced them to the different type of NFTs that are out there that our people are creating, and then gave them a chance to actually create their own by giving them tools that they can use. If anybody wants to create an NFT, there's several tools out there for Apple users. There's something called Procreate. For Android users, you can use Adobe Fresco, and that allows you to actually create images that you can download and then upload onto an NFT marketplace. And so our kids were able to use that and create their own different, and they had variations. I mean, we had poets, you know, we had some creativity with these kids. Man. It was fantastic. And then they had to tell the story of, you know, what's behind their NFT, because that's one thing. Whenever you're creating art, you have to move the buyer to want to create it. And the best way to do that is to tell a story. Tell them the reasons why or what's behind your creativity, right? So they did that. And then they were able to go through the process of uploading it. They got a chance to create their own wallet. I was able to fund them with some Solana, which we did it on one of the blockchain protocols out there. There's several protocols out there. So we did it on Solana. They opened up their own wallet. They got funded, and they were able to mint. Some of them were able to mint their NFT. And another thing is we're creating a marketplace for BTA. And in that marketplace, all you guys have to do is go to that particular marketplace, and then you'll be able to see all of the kids' NFT right there.
All right, I think this is awesome. And for those of you who are interested and you're hearing a whole bunch of stuff that you're going to have to hear again, I want you guys to drive you guys to kisswtoz.com. On there, you can find this show and other shows. Rob usually creates a podcast from this show by Tuesday for you to go back and listen to this information again. Really quick, Yinka, if you could share with our listeners, when we talk about NFTs, you know, it sounds crazy. People, you know, art was never something that we wanted to get degrees in. Now we're telling kids to make, you know, NFTs, which is artwork online. Give some examples of the success stories that we have seen with young people in the NFT space.
Oh my God, there's so many. There's this young girl who was 12 when she started last year called Nyla. And she created an NFT called Long Necky Ladies. So it's like ladies with really long necks. And it's a child art, right? But she was able to get the community behind her. And another thing that she did to drum up interest was that she gave the community the ability to create a derivative, which was a variation of the Long Necky Ladies, and that took off. That derivative really was a marketing gimmick for her. So then now she was able to last year sell her NFT, all of the collection, and make $4 million for a 12-year-old. Oh my God, $4 million, right? And since then, she's been on the cover of Time magazine. She's been featured, and I think she has a partnership with Cadillac right now. So, you know, that's one of the success for a young girl in our community who was able to find, you know, success using or creating her own NFTs. there's been so many different people, and not just young people, but also older people. Jack Dorsey was able to sell his first tweets for like a ridiculous amount. It was millions of dollars for just a first tweet. You know, we have people in our community who are finding success with their own NFT music video. Like seriously, a music video on the NFT. Poetry. It's just the capabilities are endless, right? And so, you know, it's a way for our people to really tap in and use the creativity that, you know, comes from our community to really make money. And the great thing is for all of those NFT artists, you know, they not just sell, but they're also getting residual, right? So there is royalty that's attached to these NFTs. So whenever their NFT that someone has bought, that person then sells that NFT, the creator gets a certain percentage back, which is
what I love about this is we have seen and we've talked about how on TikTok Black creators are not getting their due as it relates to their ability to create. And so many times historically, we as a people have had amazing ideas, have come up with all of these great things, and we're not able to benefit from the creativity that we've had. Mm-hmm. This new space allows us as individuals to not only get paid for the creativity, but then to get residuals on the type of creativity we have, which in many ways takes away from the misappropriation, how people come in and they culturally appropriate us and they take away things from us. Yes. That we have created, and we don't get any benefit. We now have a way of qualifying and quantifying our creativity in a space that we are able to generate wealth from for our communities. And I think that this is so important. Yeah, absolutely, Ms. Brown. It is absolutely awesome. And what would you say to individuals who are interested in what you're saying, but they're afraid because this is a space that we of a community have never really been a part of?
Oh man, if you're interested, definitely tap into us. I have a whole community that I'm cultivating. We're providing education. We have a BWBC Academy. The website is bwbc.io. As I mentioned, I'm all about educating the community. One of our goals is to make sure that we do not get left behind in this technology, as well as all the technologies that's surrounding it. Want to make sure that we're building a community of builders. It's important for us not just to be consumers, because I don't want us to go out there and buy any which NFT. I want us to get our hands dirty and be able to create an NFT or create a blockchain or just create any of the other use cases that matters to us as people. So that's what we're creating. We're creating pathways for us to get involved. So if anyone is interested further, definitely check out the website. I encourage you to join the community there. There's a wealth of information that's out there every Thursday on Clubhouse. If you're on Clubhouse, meet me at 9:00 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and jump into our Clubhouse room, Black Women in Blockchain. We have an Alpha and Beats club room where we talk about blockchain. We talk about what's going on with blockchain. We also give you some Afro beats and Caribbean reggae, and, you know, just to get you up in the morning. The website, once again, is bwbc.io. It's right next to my name right here. So, yeah, I encourage y'all to tap in.
Thank you so very much. And not only that, Yinka, I told you, once we got connected, I'm like, I'm not letting you go anywhere. So we are going to continue to bring her. She is another one of those gifts that we have been able to bless our community with that is not from here, but she has found her space. We have found spaces together. Thank you for Yvonne Daniels for putting it in the chat, bwbc.io. This is not the last time that you will be hearing from her. Once again, Yinka, I thank you so very much for being a part of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. You are empowering people with education and information, which is so great. So thank you once again. And for those who are tuned in, once again, thank you for tuning in for Straight Talk. An hour is only but so long. Take care of yourselves and each other. God bless you all. Grace and peace.
You've been listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen by the host, its guest, or call-ins do not necessarily represent the opinion of this station, the staff, its owners, Alpha Media USA, or its advertisers.
Kiss 107.1.